This video is going to focus on how to check our gradebook. We've already done a course copy. We just need to double check to make sure that the grades are going to calculate properly and that students are able to monitor their grades for the duration of the upcoming term. So we've done the course copy already. There are just a few things we need to double check. The first thing we need as we're double checking our gradebook is we need a copy of our final grade rubric for this particular course. So for this course we're looking at weekly activities, exams, midterm, and final. They make up 100%. So there are 4 categories that will need to be calculated to make up the student's final grade. I'm going to move that to the side. We'll refer back to it periodically. The first thing we're going to do is we need to go to the full grade center. And when we arrive here, we want to check to make sure that we have these categories already set up. We mouse over Manage and then click on the word Categories. At this point in time, you can see all the categories that have been created. Now, we're looking for weekly activities. We do see that. And over here, you see the columns that are associated with it. We have the word exams. So we have a category for exams, and looks like we have 1 exam assigned to it. A category called midterm. I see an error. We do not have a category called midterm. So the next thing I need to do is create a category and name it midterm. Okay, so now we have a category named midterm that we can associate our midterm grade with, and we need a final category, and we do have one. Now don't want to confuse you, but I am going to tell you this. It's not necessary to have a category for final and midterm because it's 1 grade. It's 1 grade. So there's not a lot of calculating it's not like you have 3 of them. So you don't have to have a category for final exam and midterm because you can just pull those individual columns into your weighted total at the end. But just to keep everything consistent, let's say that for every category that you have with a percentage, we're going to create a category that's assigned to it. Okay, so now we have our category set up, and I'm going to click OK at the bottom, and we're back to the full grade center. The next place that you need to check is you mouse over Manage again. We're not going to go back to categories, but we're going to come to this area called column organization. This area is so full of information. What it shows you is it shows you every column in your gradebook, and it shows you the categories that you have associated them with. So for instance, I'm going to pull our final grade rubric. We're using weekly activities, we're using exams, midterm, and final. And what I see is weekly activities, and assignment, but we're not using a category called assignment. So let me look and see what this is. This is an exam, and it really should be assigned to the exams category. I do that by going back to the full grade center and going to the exam 2 column. And I'm going to change what it's associated with. So I'm going to go back to the grade center, and I'm going to go to the exam 2 column, and I'm going to edit column information, and see here where it has it associated with the assignment category. That is incorrect. It needs to be associated with the exams category. So I'm simply going to change that and click submit. Now when I go back to look at all of my columns and what they're associated with, I can see that I have now fixed exam 2, and it is associated with the right category. Now I notice that I do not have a column for midterm and final. That's another something that I need to fix. So I'm going to go back to my full grade center. And this is a column that you're going to be typing into. So it's just a general column. It's not considered a calculated column. And I'm going to create a column that's called midterm, and I'm going to go ahead and associate it with the correct category so that it will calculate properly. And I forgot to tell it. It gives you an error. How much is this worth? It's worth 100 points. I'll click submit, and we're back here. Now remember, we also needed a final column so that we can type in the student's final grades. So I'm going to create column, call it final. I'm going to associate it with the right category, and I'm going to give it, it's worth 100 points or 100%, and I'm going to click submit. Okay, so you'll see that they're added as they're created, they're added to the end. It's always that way. I'm going to go look at column organization again. And you see the midterm is associated with the midterm category, and the final is associated with the final category. And so the last thing that I have to check is I need to check and make sure that my weighted total is calculating properly. So I'll go to weighted total, and I pulled in exams, I pulled in final weekly activities, but for my final grade, I am missing a midterm calculation. So I'm going to go to my midterm category, pull that over, and it looks like that is worth 20%, exams 30, weekly 30. I think I have some errors here. Exam is 30%. Notice here it's showing 20. I need to change this to 30. And I pulled over the midterm. The midterm is now worth 20. That takes me to 100%. And I'm going to submit that. So what I have checked in order to make sure that the gradebook is correct is I've checked my categories to make sure that they match the categories that I selected for the course that's shown on the syllabus. Let me go backwards, and we've checked the column organization, which shows everything in the gradebook and the categories associated with it. And finally, we checked the weighted total column to make sure that everything was calculating at the percentage that they were supposed to. If not, we made those changes. And this is how we double check our gradebook to make sure that it is correct each term. It really only takes about 5 minutes once you get in the habit of doing it. It looks like this one is calculating really well according to the grades that I have supplied.